Hey everybody, what's up? Chad Wesley Smith here for Juggernaut Training Systems, bringing you some more information about strength and conditioning for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Make sure you go look at our strength and conditioning for BJJ playlist, see more information about this topic, some big picture ideas about how to organize your week with lifting and Jiu-Jitsu together, how to periodize your training, conditioning, some prehab and injury prevention strategies, all sorts of good stuff. And today we're going to be talking about the question that you all want to know. What are the best exercises for BJJ? In fact, what are the 6 best exercises for BJJ is what I'm going to be talking about today. And guess what? There isn't, the best exercise. There isn't one exercise that's going to make you the greatest jiu-jitsu competitor in the world. And that is, in fact, would hold true for insert any other sport here that's not powerlifting, weightlifting, or strongman. The exercise you do is not that important. What is important is the movement patterns you train, and that all of the training fits strategically within what you're doing. So when I am selecting exercises for non-barbell sport athletes like jiu-jitsu competitors, there's 3 main considerations that I make. 1, can the athlete do the exercise safely? Is their technique good enough to perform this exercise for its intended purpose? Something really to consider with that and how it will sort of manifest itself in actual exercise selection decisions is, does it matter if a jiu-jitsu athlete does barbell deadlifts from the floor with the straight bar? Not really, because it is not a contest of who can deadlift the most. So if you have an athlete with maybe some history of lower back issues, it doesn't matter if they don't deadlift from the floor. What does matter is that they are strengthening their hip hinging and hip extension movement pattern. Now that could be happening through trap bar deadlifts, for barbell hip thrusts, for deadlifting with the bar elevated on blocks or in the rack. There's a lot of possible options. Consideration number 2 when selecting exercises for athletes is going to be, can they create significant output on that exercise? Athletes are in the weight room to get stronger, to be able to produce more force, as well as to help them prevent injuries. But the foremost goal is get stronger, produce more force. While there are some exercises that maybe the athlete can do very well and maybe they seem very functional, they don't actually allow the athlete to use a significant enough weight to produce some strength stimulus. And again, that's what we're here to do, is produce strength stimulus. So while the overhead squat is an exercise that requires a lot of mobility and stability, it's not a great choice when it comes to putting a bunch of weight on the bar and helping the athlete get stronger. So that's going to be the second consideration. And while other choices can be made too, things like a front squat versus a box squat, or maybe even a front box squat, if that allows the athlete to move more weight on the bar, it's going to be a good option for them. Third consideration for the athlete when choosing exercises is, how well does this fit within the bigger structure of their plan? So while doing a lot of deadlifts from the floor, for example, is maybe something that athlete can do safely, that they can produce great stimulus on, it might not be the best option when they're doing a ton of live training because it's beating their back up too much, and maybe they play a lot of open guard, inverted guards, and they already have a lot of stress on their low back. So you have to look at the bigger picture when selecting exercises for your athletes. Now I'm going to give you the answers that you want. What are the 6 best exercises for jiu-jitsu competitors? And in fact, we're looking at the 6 most important movement categories. And that is going to be some type of squat exercise, some type of hip hinge, hip extension exercise, an upper body push, upper body pull, twisting exercises, and carrying exercises. Those are going to be the foundation of what we do with jiu-jitsu competitors to help them be stronger, be faster, more explosive, more durable against injury, and just better overall competitors. So the first movement category we want to discuss is the squat. And again, I say movement category because when I say squat, I don't just necessarily mean a barbell back squat, but the exercises that are going to best fit the context that we described of exercises the athlete can create strength output on, that they can perform safely, and that fits within the bigger context of their plan. So typically one of my top choices for jiu-jitsu athletes as their squatting variation is going to be a safety squat bar or a front squat and oftentimes doing a box squat variation of that. So because the jiu-jitsu athlete's shoulders, wrists, and stuff get beat up so much, forcing their arms into external rotation to hold the bar on your back might not be a great option. So if you have access to a safety squat bar, that's going to be really beneficial. Front squat as well could be a good option, and you could do that with either crossed hands or using straps to hold the bar. You don't need to use a clean grip to hold the bar. If you have access to a belt squat machine, this can be a great option as well, because the belt squat, or if you're just going to use a loading pin with a dip belt standing on blocks works, because the belt squat takes so much stress off the low back for the athlete, allows them to just train the strength of their legs, especially if you're a guard player, your low back's already getting beat up enough without introducing more fatigue through barbell squatting variation. So belt squat can be a great option. Because so much of jiu-jitsu and sports in general are happening on one leg, and jiu-jitsu places such great demand on hip flexibility, the rear foot elevated split squat, also known as the Bulgarian split squat, but Bulgarian weightlifters never really did that exercise, can be a great option. Again, it takes stress off the low back, allowing you to just train the legs hard. You can do this with bar on your back, safety squat bar, holding dumbbells, wearing weight vests, a lot of different options there. Just want to make sure that you're training through a full range of motion. You can also adjust the tempo of this exercise for more strength endurance, like using a 3 to 5 count eccentric. Our next movement category is going to be hip hinge and hip extension. This is a very, very valuable movement pattern for jiu-jitsu, especially in the standing game, in passing, as you're trying to drive your hips in for like different kind of leg drag passes. This can be really valuable. The power that you can develop here with exercises like a clean or snatch pull are really valuable. While the Olympic lifting variations, if you have a good background on them, can be great, they also put a lot of stress on the shoulders, elbows, and wrists, which are already getting beat up enough during your regular training. So I'd suggest focusing just more on the pull portion of that, pulling the bar as high as you can, but without catching it. Whether you're doing that with the clean grip or the snatch grip, either one is fine. Probably pulling the bar off of blocks rather than the floor is going to be a good option for a lot of people, as it takes a little bit of the technique out of the exercise. The trap bar deadlift I find to be preferable for jiu-jitsu athletes compared to the barbell deadlift, just because it's easier to learn. Powerlifting is a sport in and of itself, so conventional deadlifting or sumo deadlifting may be a little bit more technique than the athlete needs to develop for the weight room, which are all general strength exercises for the jiu-jitsu athlete. So the trap bar deadlift, easy to learn, simple to execute, and going to give the athlete some great strength stimulus. They can probably go a little bit heavier with that movement than they could with a regular deadlift. Finally, barbell hip thrust. Barbell hip thrust can be tremendously valuable exercise for the jiu-jitsu athlete. It mimics the bridging position. It's very simple to learn, simple to execute. You can go heavy on it and get a lot of strength stimulus for the glutes and hamstrings. When you're performing the barbell hip thrust, though, make sure that you focus on full extension of the hip, and don't be so overly concerned with how much weight can I put on the bar and end up shorting your hip extension, but do the exercise as what it's intended to do. Our next movement category is pressing. So the upper body pressing is going to build strength, certainly going to help you create stronger frames, as well as just strength throughout the shoulder, which is going to come into play in a lot of different positions. Because jiu-jitsu athletes' shoulders are getting beat up so much, though, we have to be smart about our pressing exercise that we choose. So while the bench press is going to be the movement that allows you to generate the most strength stimulus because you can use the heaviest weight, benching with a straight bar to the full range of motion to the chest might not be a good choice, because it's just going to add fatigue to the shoulders. So if you have access to a Swiss bar or some kind of neutral grip bar, that can be a good option. Using that bar for a floor press or a board press variation can be good. It'll allow you to move a lot of weight, create a lot of strength stimulus, but not beat up the shoulders too much more. As a bit more of a special strength exercise, the dumbbell Z press can be really good, as it forces a lot of stability, works some mobility to be able to hold that position. So if you play sit-up guard type of stuff, the dumbbell Z press could be a special strength exercise for you there. And if your elbows and shoulders are healthy and it feels good to do dips, body weight exercises are always a great option for the jiu-jitsu competitor. And of course, you can add weight in the dip. play around with different body angles, different tempos, but dips are certainly a great option. Our upper body pulling exercises. Now, upper body pulling is one of the most valuable components of strength in Jiu-Jitsu. The pulling strength is probably more impactful to your Jiu-Jitsu success than pressing or pushing strength. So we really want to emphasize these exercises. Now, probably number one choice here is going to be the bent over barbell row. It's going to mimic the position that you'll often be in as beginning a standing guard pass. It's going to create isometric strength in the low back, as well as the concentric and eccentric strength in the upper back and lats. It's going to build your grip. All around, great exercise. On an anecdotal level, I have seen with high-level jiu-jitsu competitors that this did seem to have a higher, the athletes who were better at the barbell row did seem to be better at jiu-jitsu, though this is with a very, very small pool of athletes, so I don't, take that for what you will. Single arm dumbbell row can be a great option as well, whether you're standing with your, with one knee on the bench, you're standing on both feet with your hands supported on the bench, or you're just putting your forearm across your knee for stability. Single arm dumbbell row is going to allow you to go heavy. It's going to add a little bit of rotation to the movement. It's going to help you build your grip strength. It's a very similar position to a lot of grip breaking, and whether you're playing guard and having to pull your opponent's sleeve back in that kind of bow and arrow position, or you're trying to pass the guard, single arm dumbbell row is going to approximate those movements and be a simple exercise that you can go pretty heavy on. Mixed grip pull-ups, so whether that's a pull-up grip, chin-up grip, neutral grip, holding onto a rope, holding onto a gi, a lot of different options there to build strength throughout the back as well as your grip strength. Twisting is an important movement category for a jiu-jitsu competitor, particularly exercises on the feet, but also once you're on the ground, a lot of rotational movement patterns, and the more power you can generate there, the more effective you're going to be throwing your opponent, moving yourself. Barbell Russian twist is probably our best option to really overload this movement with a heavier weight. You can do this for low reps for strength and power. You can do it for higher reps for strength endurance, alactic or lactic capacity. Pretty simple movement to execute. The med ball twisting slam, that's going to be great for alactic capacity. You could also use it for lactic capacity, getting into longer rounds. Simple to execute. You want to use, you can manipulate the weight of the ball here for it to be more about strength or more about speed. Same idea with the med ball rotational rebound. You could do these for very low reps to just develop power in the rotational movement. You could use a lighter ball that actually rebounds, that bounces well off the wall, and use that for more elastic or reactive elastic qualities or capacity. Finally, the carrying movement pattern is just going to be a great way to develop grip strength, to develop stability through the hips and trunk, to attack any asymmetries that the athlete may have. So the single arm farmer's walk is going to be a great option that you can load up heavy and build strength with. You could do it for time, multiple time sets or maximum distance, building grip strength endurance, building alactic capacity or lactic capacity with it. Keg or sandbag front carries are going to be great to teach the athlete how to brace. They're going to be taxing to the aerobic system. They're just going to build a lot of stability through the abs and low back. Finally, the kettlebell front rack walk, which you could do with a single arm or both arms, is going to challenge the abs, challenge the hips, challenge the upper back, challenge the aerobic system, as well as just building strength throughout the body. So those are my 6 best exercises for BJJ. Again, we're talking about the 6 best movement categories: squatting, hip hinge or hip extension, press, upper body pull, twisting and carrying. If throughout the week you're getting 2 or 3 exposures to each of those movement categories, you're on a good track to have a great program and improve your performance in Jiu-Jitsu. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out our Juggernaut AI Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu strength and conditioning plan through the link in the video info.